I'm Eddie T. Rogers, and welcome back to Revival and Power. We're going to be finishing up what we started last week, God's Heart for Revival Part 2. If you missed Part 1, I encourage you to go back and watch it first and then come back to this one. You can find it on our YouTube channel. We always want to encourage you to give us a thumbs up on the YouTube and to like us on Facebook as well. So I want to talk a little bit about God's heart for revival. And we talked about last week that He has a heart for restoration. That is the whole purpose of revival. We shared briefly about how people will be outcast, they will be separated from positions they had, that this is the enemy's goal, is to steal, kill, and destroy. But God's heart is always to bring them back again. And He gave us an example with the 99 sheep, and He goes after the one. Psalm 85 verses 10 and 12 from the Passion Translation says this: "Your mercy and your truth have married each other. Your righteousness and peace have kissed. Yes, the Lord keeps raining down blessing after blessing, and prosperity will drench the land with a bountiful harvest." Now, I have heard many people talk about that in these end times, that they're just merely looking to escape, to get out, to leave this earthly realm. But I'm here to tell you that that is not God's plan, is to give you an escape out. He has anointed you, He has filled you, He has surrounded you with the power of God, He has equipped you as a maturing son of God to bring defeat to the enemy and to bring the Lord a bountiful harvest. He wants His house filled. Amen? He wants His house filled. So God's heart always has a purpose in restoration. And while we will see, marriages and lives and restored, children restored, prodigals restored, all of that is wonderful. And that is part of the end result. But God, in His extravagant love, always goes beyond the contentment of man. Man will say, okay, this is good. I'm happy. I'm happy with this. I like where we are. I like what we're doing. I'm content with everything. I just want to stay right here. But God says, no, you can't stay right there. I have a greater purpose. A few weeks ago, we talked about greatness. God has called you into greatness. He says, no, you have no idea. God, this is God saying, you want to be content. And God says, you don't have any idea the blessing and the prosperity I desire to pour out on you. I want to drench you in the richness of I am. God wants to pour what we call wasteful. So, well, that's just being a waste. God calls abundance. He is an abundant God. He is an overflowing God. You spill milk on the table and you fuss at the children. You spilt the milk. God says, that's abundance. Let it flow. There's more where that came from. What people see as just something that should not be desired, God desires to give us a profuse, copious insight into the opulence of blessing. Did you catch that? He has been waiting for those to be restored and to hear the heart of God and get out of the narrow-mindedness of men. Men think shallow. Men think narrow-minded. God thinks abundance. God thinks overflowing, abounding, because that's who He is. He is El Shaddai, the God who is more than enough. And He wants to prove it to us in these last days more than He ever has before. There is always a purpose in restoration, and there is a purpose in the heart of God. And I'm sharing with you that God's heart for revival. What is His heart for revival? Is to see people restored. We're made into His image, to be fully restored at the center of this great end time revival. Revival means to revive, to bring back to life things that were dead. His heart must become our heart. We can't stay where we are. We have to think the way God thinks, and we have to let Him breathe His breath in us until our heart and our thoughts become like His. At the ultimate core of His heart is that bountiful harvest, an ingathering of souls to fill His kingdom. It is about the harvest of the ages. It is a massive tidal wave of restored people filling the kingdom with restored people. Let me say that again. At the heart of God is this massive tidal wave, a tidal wave of revival and of restoration. a massive tidal wave of people who have been restored filling the kingdom with restored people. Not perfect people, but people who have been restored. So here is my point in closing. You don't need to be looking for an exit from earth. You need to be looking for an entrance into the kingdom, because this is all about the kingdom purpose, and the kingdom plan. It's not about my church, my ministry, my denomination. There are no personal pronouns in the kingdom. It's all about Jesus. Restoration into the kingdom. Until next week, thank you.